let people stream in for a
Awesome.
minute. Tracy, it's so nice to meet you.
It is so nice to meet you as well for such wonderful things. And I hear you're in Toronto.
I am. It is almost 10 o'clock at night, and as soon as we're done here, I'm going to be going to sleep. So I have a 2-year-old. So if you want to connect with me, do that. But just know that I'll be sleeping when this is done.
Amazing. Amazing. Yes.
Also, just so you guys know as you come in, that this morning I had a coffee and my hair was just resting in it. I didn't realize that until about 5 minutes later when I was like, oh my God, my hair got way too long in quarantine. Holy moly.
That's so funny, right? I know everyone's online right now cutting their own hair. I don't know if hairdressers are too happy about that, but
No.
the freakonomics that's going to happen out of this is going to be quite interesting.
Oh,
And
Lillian, that's so nice. I'm excited that you're here, and sorry our conversation was so short. Um,
yeah, so let me quickly kind of give a lowdown. So guys, this is our breakout session. I'm gonna have a few questions to ask Zoe. If you have questions yourself, please feel free to go into the chat. Hey Matthew, hey Lillian.
Matthew's my employee.
Oh, thanks
I feel
Matthew.
so loved.
And it's really going to be more of a dialogue. And really, what we're going to be talking about is really how to market differently and the shifts that are happening with marketing and branding during COVID. So without further ado, I'm going to give a little introduction about Zoe. She's quite a superwoman. And so Zoe Sherry is the CEO of Schmooz Media, a Toronto-based social marketing agency that helps companies embody their purpose and drive impact through social media and other truly connecting marketing tools. Schmooz Media was founded in 2014 and is proud to work with purpose-driven businesses who believe in creating true value for their customers and employees so their business can stand the test of time. Now I have to ask, like you're ending off with test of time. Is this something you changed for COVID or is this always been the intro here?
This has been my brand all along. So
Wow.
interestingly, before I started Schmooz, I was a kindergarten teacher. So then I went to business school, and then I started an agency right after business school because I really felt there was a gap in people just like being transparently themselves. It was such a game. It was so flashy, and I mean that's exciting and can be the right thing to do depending on the business. But I was just like, let's just like say what we mean and make good business happen as a result. And I've just really focused on staying true to that. And that's how I guide my team and my vision. And I'm just like in love with the company that I'm building. It's hard work, but it's so worthwhile when you see the impact that the people that you work with, they make impact because of what we do, and that's phenomenal.
Amazing. You can definitely feel the energy that you give about your company.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about COVID because things have shifted. A lot of news going out about how you position your company during this whole experience. So let's talk about just the shifting in the messaging and the branding. I know when, I probably about a month ago, maybe what we said about March 23rd, I got an email from every company that I've ever signed up for, every subscription, right?
Yeah.
Once got an email talking about COVID. Was that the right move? Did people miss the boat if they didn't do that as a company? What are your thoughts on that?
I think at the beginning, it was like, oh, great, that makes sense that they're emailing. And then it started to become like, did you just copy and paste that email into another, like into the, like, come on, you guys, like, we know you want to wash your hands. We know you're going to sanitize your space. Like at that point, it became, oh, they're just saying something for the sake of saying something. And it didn't feel helpful. It felt a little bit like, for me, it felt a little bit like being choked by this message but I think everyone was in shock at the beginning. Like, to be fair, and I'm sure you feel the same way, no one knew what to say, and no one, like, people still don't know what to say, but especially at the beginning, it was just like, maybe it was going to be okay. So it was just enough to say, like, we're keeping things as clean as possible. And then so what happened in my business, to be just really transparent about Schmooz, I have 10 full-time employees and about 20 part-time employees. And in the first 2 weeks, from around March 16th to early April, we lost 50% of our revenue. People went completely like, we're pausing everything. I don't know what to do here. I don't know how long this is going to last. they were losing revenue. Their clients were all pausing. Again, it depended on the industry, but for us, that first 2 weeks was everyone just pressing pause. And then as we got into April and people started to accept this is going to be the new normal, you're okay, Zoe, we're pivoting. We need to do this. We need to show that we're good people. We need to demonstrate our corporate social responsibility. You've been saying this all along, but now we're going to do it. And they went from so we don't do anything with lead generation or lead acquisition. It's all about community building. And we went from people kind of pushing us on that, being like, well, no, I mean, if the revenue's not there, then what's the point? And I'm like, well, if there's no purpose to what you're doing beyond trying to sell something, then what's the point? And that's what I've been saying all along. But now people are like, Zoe, oh my God, if I can't demonstrate purpose right now, then I'm just going to look like the gross person who's only asking for a sale.
Yeah.
So it's a really interesting shift. And I think that as this continues and as we come out of it, the brands who haven't taken the chance to rediscover their purpose and their core values and the value that they want to add to their consumers, those consumers are going to become a lot more discerning about where they want to spend time and energy. And that means that if a brand is icky, they're going to say, I'd rather go to the brand that's doing something good and isn't just shoving new products in my face. So it's like this, to me, it's like this mix and match. And I would love the audience to tell me what they're thinking too. I'm a little bit bold sometimes in my opinions. And sometimes I do that to make people talk. So, Stephanie.
Definitely. Yeah, here, let me give you a question here. What tips would you have for writing calls for community without coming across cheesy or inauthentic, especially when at the end of the day, your brand is tied to a product or service?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And hi, I'm in Toronto too. So this is why core values are so important, and this is what my agency has always done, and this is something you can do with or without us. But it's sort of saying why, and even if you're not the owner of that business and you're working on the marketing team, you want to be thinking like beyond the product, and even when trying to create this product or provide customer service around this product, what values do we stand for? And if those can't be clarified, then it's going to be very difficult to create content that does more than just talk about the fact that you're like we're in it with you. So I try and think about the core values, and then I try and think about the ideal audience groups. And I'm sort of saying, let's just pretend that the issue is toilet paper, okay? And you're saying, okay, I'm going to do a campaign about toilet paper, and a campaign about toilet paper. And I know this is a very random example, but a campaign about toilet paper is going to be very different for a Bachelor in Paradise watching 25-year-old than a campaign about toilet paper for a 70-year-old person. And you're like, what 70-year-old person's on it, like on Facebook? Well, they're on Instagram trying to see their grandchildren. So am I going to be doing the same type of content? And the answer is no. But if your core values are answering that question, you might say, okay, it's different content for this audience and different content for this audience, but does it still check off the fact that I want to be transparent? Does it still check off that and I don't know what your core values are, Stephanie, or your company's core values, but those are the gauges I'd be looking at. Different content for different audiences. And going a little bit deeper, like what problem is me talking about, toilet paper towers, use the toilet paper rolls to build a tower with your 3-year-old. What value does that create beyond my product? And it's more than just saying like, hey, toilet paper, people bought a lot of it. Yeah. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it definitely makes sense. And it's great to have experience like that. So you're really staying tailored to your audience. It definitely, I find, that's a fine line of how do you make it cheesy or authentic? Some brands are easier than others. I see Kim Kardashian right now on her Instagram, always skims, right? And it's like, should she be adding that COVID element? Does everyone need to have the words COVID for people to not think it's not insensitive, or can you actually
Uh,
just go market your brand, like you typically market it? Or do we think right now all marketing campaigns, have to shift a little bit in some sense?
I struggle with that sensitivity thing, and again, I'd be really curious to know what people in the audience think. Um, Someone actually, I had this issue a week or two ago, and it basically gave me a night of crying because I hate everyone thinking, oh, I'm so glad, Stephanie. I hate anyone thinking that I'm insensitive because I started a charity a month ago. I'm writing a children's book that's going to be sold to raise money for the charity. I have a 2-year-old. I have 10 employees, none of which I've had to lay off. And then somebody said, this idea you have is coming across as insensitive. And I was just like, that's like a dagger to my heart. We're all human. And I truthfully believe that we have a response. If we have a business that can be moving money ethically, I think we have a responsibility to ask for a sale. So there's a lot of businesses that can't ask for a sale right now, and they have to use government funding, and that's their only option to survive. And they probably still won't survive even with that funding. So I truly believe that insensitivity to ask for money is something that I would fight against a little bit, and saying, look, if I don't ask, I don't even get the chance to move money around to people who otherwise might be laid off. Like, if I can hire people and grow in this time, then and that means that I look insensitive asking for a paycheck, I will look insensitive, and I don't care,
Yeah, very
because
fair.
it's important to say there's money that can be moved around right now, and that's part of our responsibility to this economic crisis.
For sure. I think it's refreshing that point for sure. So I'm going to try something different here. I think I can add people to the queue and add people. Sunil, I don't know if you want to be part of it, but you're part of the queue. So I'm going to add you to it.
Hi, Sunil.
Let's see if he pops in at I don't know if he's accepted. Here's the new technology, but I'm really liking this hop in.
Oh, I love Hopin. It's been a great tool. I've been using it for a couple of weeks now, and I think it's just like sometimes a little bit better than real in-person networking.
Well, it is nice that we're able to have people all around the world. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Def-
It
Definitely.
doesn't look like he's come in, but
Not yet. And then Lauren Taylor, do you also want to be joined in? I'm going to jump you in as well here. I'm adding your request into it. So we'll see if they pop in. I think that's how Jacob got in. So let's talk about personal brands. I'm not sure if you work any with them a bit.
yeah.
Drake, there's a lot of controversy right now with Drake. We're in the Toronto. Mostly because he's gloating about his fancy house and his money and all this, how his personal brand. Do you think people need to be sensitive on that front maybe, or change, kind of before people popping champagne and things like that, have a different
I mean,
type
I
of.
really think it goes back to your core values. So, like, it's going to be very clear what people stand for in this time. And I'm not going to comment on Drake's core values, but it does sort of say, like, you have a choice about what content you're going to post. And look, not everyone can be like, look, we're raising money for XYZ, and here's my ask for $5. Like, that does get tiring too. That there's a lot of noise around fundraising. So sometimes the best decision is to say, I'm going to sit this one out, be quiet, be calm, plan for the future, and that's okay too. And your messaging can be as such. We're here, we're planning, we're breathing. Maybe it's more of the meditation angle. There's lots of different ways to add value and to demonstrate who you truly are. And I guess I could argue for Drake that it's entertaining, and
Yeah.
maybe that's one of his core values, is to entertain. It's so hard to judge. It's his personal choice, and it's all of ours as well. Ultimately, you have to go to sleep at night being okay with the persona that you portray yourself under, and hopefully it's not a persona. Hopefully it's truthful. Like, I'm sure you can tell that I'm just speaking extremely freely. I'm not worried about what I say because I'm good with myself. Like, I'm
Yes.
I'm good with the person I am, and the choices I'm making. Um,
That's
but that's
awesome.
hard.
Refreshing. So values, you really got to understand your values really, because if you stick to them, then say do kind of whatever you think's right. Okay, talk a
Um,
bit more, or
oh,
tactile type stuff. So I don't know if these guys are coming in or not. Sorry, do you want something to add? Go for it.
oh, I was just going to say that, interestingly, one of our clients pivoted right at the beginning their business model, and they had done core values work with us, and they were just like, right now we have like 6 core values. We're just going to lean entirely into this one. And like all the content, and interestingly, when you design content in like a big way, you're sort of saying like, okay, if we have like 5 core values and 5 ideal audiences, how do we distribute content across those different like 20% to this ideal audience and demonstrating this core value? That's kind of the way we're thinking about it. And she was just like, okay, it's still the 5 audiences, but it's all about this one core value as opposed to all 5 of them. And so it's like really interesting to see people leaning into their different core values more or less. Um, and that's why it's so good. It's a guidepost. Those core values are a guidepost. Is
Very.
someone going to come in?
Yeah, I'm gonna try again. Neil popped in again. We'll see. I clicked the.
Let me try.
Let me try. Oh, there we go.
Oh, hi, Tracy. Hi, Joey.
Hi, Sunil.
Hi, good to see you again at your session.
Likewise. Do you have a question for us?
Yeah, so I kind of joined in late. So I was curious for startups who are looking at different marketing strategies in this COVID situation. What would be the recommendation to reach out to potential customers? Would it be through traditional models still, or they need to adapt new models to do marketing strategies and branding as well?
I mean, I think again, it's hard to speak to without knowing the industry and the audience, but I think that a great starting place is always a little bit smaller and sort of saying, who are the 5 brands or 5 people that share the same values that I do and that I can see myself aligning with right now, not dissimilar from picking an influencer, but on a smaller scale. And being able to say, this person's doing something that I'm aligned with. Maybe if I can reach out to them and co-create with them, maybe if I can, I'll give you a perfect example, and it's not about COVID at all, but it's about attitudes towards growth and scaling. I had a client come to me and say, I have 1,000 people in my newsletter list, and my goal is to get it to 2,000. And I said, well, why? And she's like, well, 6% of my list is currently active, of the 1,000. So I was like, okay, so, and she's like, oh, so that means that if I get 2,000, 6% of the 2,000 will be active paying customers. And that's like really, really, yes, I agree, Lillian. Staying quiet is a good move for some brands. That's a really good point that you could be having 6% of 2,000. But what if you went from 6% of 1,000 to 8% of 1,250 and spent your money nurturing the relationships with fewer people than just having this like lead acquisition growth, the bigger is better mindset. And I think that relationship curation and even possibly, as Lillian says, staying smaller and more intimate could be a lot more meaningful of a way to come out of this feeling like the investment you put into marketing and into relationship building will be that type of stuff that will stand the test of time. That would be my guess about the biggest shift, is that people ad dollars right now are not working as hard. It's just like putting ad budget behind ads. It's not the same as it was 3 months ago. We've seen it in our results at Schmooz. So it is about organic, and that's why core values are so important in finding those matches genuinely. I hope that answers your question. I could do it so much more specific to your industry, Sunil, but I hope that's good general advice.
Yeah, that's good generally. Yeah, our industry is more in the transportation sector. We are like Uber for shuttles, but more B2B focused rather than B2C. So probably that's the kind of that's the market we are in specifically.
Okay, well, I think let me think on it, and we'll talk some more. I would love to talk to you about it, but I'd also love to make sure that Linda and Laura, who are waiting, can also come in.
Linda, Laura, do you guys want to come join in?
Son, let me get them in here.
As fast as you could there. And so Laura, no, I think they realize
they might be gone.
Yeah, I think it's interesting we talk about Aspen. I want to quickly talk about it because I've been reading a lot about it. I thought for sure, hey, everyone's at home. Aspen's going to work now. We're all in our right. And I think you hit it. I don't know. And I want to hear your experience on, is it working or not working? When I was reading a blog on Neil Patel, he's talking a lot about this. And, he was saying that ad spend is actually cheaper now, which it contradicted the way I thought. I thought people are home, restaurants are trying to get people on their Uber Eats, are trying to do these different things, localize it. But it seems like ads, I don't know, the world of ad spend has all kind of been thrown up. I want to hear your experience on it.
Yeah, it definitely has been it's all like it's like life right now. It's a cluster beep. Every day seems a little bit different, but I mean, that's my experience with ads all the time. It's like people expect there to be a formula with ads that magically works. And that's not the case. It's about that listening component. So listening to the data, but also listening to the response of the community. So I don't want to say too much about ads because I have a smarter ads team than me. I'm not the smartest at ads. I hire people who are smarter than me. So if you're smarter than me, I might be hiring. But what I would say is that small tests with content that you feel proud of, as opposed to like, I wouldn't be doing so much remarketing right now. Like following people around asking for money, I wouldn't feel good about that right now. We have clients who, like, let's just say, for example, it's like a subscription service of something you really do need at home. The remarketing ads, there's definitely a place for those. But again, it goes back to what we were talking about and what Lillian was saying. Like sometimes it's better to stay a bit quiet or focus on ads on. I'm going to speak about myself because that's the easiest thing. So it's so hard to I don't want to say anything wrong about clients. So, or confidential rather. But what I would say is that, right now I'm focusing a lot of my content on the home front, which is the charity that I started. And I'm also focusing on the children's book I'm writing. And that's on purpose. I don't want to be like, I'm a great boss. And here's how, so many people are talking about how they're doing remote working online and how their team is communicating and we're great. Yeah. Well, you know what? We're all great. That's awesome. What do we so what? What are we all doing this for? So I think a little less of how great we are at adapting and a little bit more about how we're helping is more interesting to me. And I'd rather put ad money behind that.
Very well said. So Bill has another question here and something. So I actually come from the event marketing world. And so I run a massive conference, 3,000 people, obviously with COVID not happening this August. So I'm really interested in this question here. What are your thoughts on product sampling as a strategy for brands to market to new customers? Because in the events world right now, you go to an event, you get swag. You go there and you get swag from all these booths. You get a water bottle, you get an umbrella, you get a bag, whatever. But there's potentially a new uptick to say, you don't know if you're actually going to bring that water bottle home, but now is it smart to get people to deliver that water bottle to you, right? Because now it's actually sitting in your house. So product sampling or promotional items, is it a time for it right now, right? Are we putting too much strain on our delivery system or is it actually effective?
I mean,
it's a hard question.
It's a very big question. And thank you, Sunil. I always appreciate a challenging question, especially from somebody like you, because you've got a lot of experience in this space. My thoughts on product sampling as a strategy for brands to market to new consumers. I guess my question would be, what would the ideal audience be? Like, what is that new consumer and what are they going through right now? And is that product sampling strategy one that provides value to them? So if it's going to add more stress to their lives, right now, when the doorbell rings at my house and the dog barks, it makes my 2-year-old cry. And then she wants to open the door and she wants to go outside and she wants to talk to the person at the door. And then I have to explain, know who you're sending the sample to and if it's going to actually make their day brighter or not. I think it goes back to it being value add or it being good for you only. So is it good for your brand only, or is it good for them as well? That would be my gauge on that question. I think it's it depends, but that would be my thoughts.
Yeah, very, very great. Okay, so we're gonna have.
What do you think, Tracy?
Oh, well, it goes different, right? I think in the events world, if people can sign up, I guess that really comes down to it, right? Like you said, personal people. I guess if people can sign up for it and request a sampling, it is an interesting factor. In the swag world, it makes complete sense. Like you hope they bring that swag item back to your house, but you're right.
Yeah.
People are very cautious. People are wiping everything down, and so the last thing you want with your brand is to feel nervous. Oh, great, right? I got this free sample, and so
Yeah, I also think you just had said something. Sorry, Raheel, we'll come to you in 1 second. Someone had also said something about, you had said something about the delivery. Are we putting too much strain on the delivery services? One of my clients has a car rental company, and they're like, what are we doing with all these rental cars? So I'm like, hello, there's going to be something that needs to be delivered.
yeah.
Let's do it. Like, let's like clean those cars up, get some people who've been laid off, and get some stuff moving to people who need it. Like, there are opportunities to think very smart about delivery services.
Brilliant, brilliant.
Raheel, hello.
Hi, Zoe and Tracy. Excellent conference. We really enjoyed all the main stage and also the breakout session. So excellent setup. The question that I have is in regards to the branding and marketing. So how, especially for the small businesses, like I'm being a business coach in Silicon Valley, I'm helping a lot of small businesses. And some of them, they're in very tough shape, like going out of business or unable to feed their families. So what would be the best that you would advise, and how would be like if there are some actions and path forward? So how are you taking that?
So really, look, so this goes back to the sensitivity stuff, and also goes back to you making a living and your brand being able to survive. I think I would lead with, like, what's the value of this relationship to you right now? And I wouldn't like, especially as a woman entrepreneur, I'm always very reticent to say discount your services, because I think women have a hard time asking for their value generally as entrepreneurs. But I know how different this time is, and so, you know, finding, there's always there's often an interesting solution, but I think the best solution is to say, look, I want to be able to help you. I want to be able to help you make a plan that you can come out of this with more ease than you are feeling right now. And so I would ask you what you feel you can commit to now. And, you know, maybe there can be some sort of, like, in 3 to 6 months from now, it's going to go back up again. And there's an agreement that you both want to get there together. But that's a big risk on your part too, Raheel. So I would be very cautious about it. And even if it means, and this is like entrepreneur to entrepreneur, even if it means having fewer clients right now, so that you're not spinning your own wheels and your own resources, I would just be cautious and careful about how much free stuff you give away.
Yeah, awesome.
Great question.
Good luck. It's hard, and you don't want to break someone's entire life savings, but you want to help them get back on their feet. And if you are able to get them back on their feet and provide genuine value, then they will pay it forward when they can. I believe the best in people, which is one of my biggest strengths and my biggest flaws.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Raheel. Let's quickly talk about creative kind of elements and imagery. I feel like before, you know, on events world, I used to go to festivals, and a lot of my imagery was these big crowds. And now it's like, you know, you see a big crowd and it's like panic mode. Are there types of tones, visual copy that we can balance, that creative balance in this time right now?
I mean, so I have always been a fan of showing up as you are. And I think that there's, like, just so much pressure on things looking perfect. And I think, like, this is going to lead to a huge marketing shift, in that it's going to be like, hey, we can't make things look perfect. And that's going to be celebrated in a new way. So I would argue, like, make it funny, like, make it a horrible, like, hey, look, we're all in this together, but it's like obviously photoshopped really poorly, all of you together. Like, I think it's fun to be creative and like call it out for what it is. And I'm not like, maybe humor isn't a core value of that brand, and so that's not going to be in good taste. But I think there's interesting ways to be creative and not pretend like things are perfect.
Mhm.
And I also think that there are like so many gifts of imperfection. That is a Brené Brown book you should read. And that like, as long as you sort of find the beauty in imperfection, I think that there's a lot to be celebrated. Also, just know that there's people doing their TV shows at home. I love that. There's a lot of artists who are unemployed right now who would be so thrilled to get their name out there and contribute something artistic. Maybe we're going to see a rise in paint and nature images and different sorts of imagery that, like, maybe we're going back to it. Maybe it's going to be a new artistic renaissance. Like,
Cool.
who knows? Like, it's kind of cool, and we should be open to it. Like, look at my top. I'm all like Monet.
Ah,
Maybe it was meant to be, and we're gonna paint our feelings about how we're jiving together creatively, as opposed to having some perfect picture with perfect overlay.
you are truly inspirational. That is awesome. I agree. I think a lot of us are getting more in touch now with the creative side, painting. What was that book you said about the perfection?
Oh, so it's Brené Brown, The Gifts of Imperfection. My copy is literally like highlighted and earmarked.
Yeah.
Really, the more honest I've been about my experience as a mother and an entrepreneur, the better my business gets. And I think that like radical candor and honesty is going to take everybody so much further than just pretending everything's perfect. And I'm like, gosh, can we just stop having these like really annoying long-winded meetings? Like, thank God. Like, let's try and change that, because it's been too much.
I love it. Let me see if there are any questions. Excellent session. You laser. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
See some of
You guys were an amazing audience.
yeah. Second round of Rick. Okay. Late night host, John Oliver, paper background, make it more relatable during this time. Yeah.
I think they're cutting us off anyway. Like, I think this is the end of our session, Tracy, because
Oh,
Mateen came in and said 3 minutes.
okay,
So
guys. All right. Well, thank you so much, Zoe. I've learned so much. I think everyone here really learned it, and I think you instilled some confidence in the marketing and how we're going to how all the shifts that's going on with COVID. So thank you so much. Any last words
you're
you
welcome.
can share?
So my children's book is going to be coming out, and like, we're coming out with pre-order. A website's going to launch in a day or two, and I'm just, for me, as a former teacher and as a mom to a 2-year-old, this book is called ABC Stay Home With Me, and it like ticks off so many boxes for me and my core values about learning and kindness and creating beautiful things. And I just can't wait for everyone to get their hands on it and share it with their children and fundraise for a great cause. So I have all the good feelings, and I'm trying to focus on those, because otherwise I just start drowning.
Amazing. So guys, connect with Zoe Share. I'm sure she's going to share it on her LinkedIn and social media when that happens. And then definitely.
Yeah, please connect with me, anyone. And I'm always here. I have strange hours, because every 2 hours I'm with my kid, and then I'm back at work, and then I'm with my kid, and then I'm back at work. But I love what I do, and I am here to help.
Thank you so much, Zoe. Take care, guys. We're going to go back to the main stage. Bye.